Okay, so we were in the middle of talking about Judaism and racism last week, and we're going to continue on with that. And what I got up to was using this letter to go through it. And last we spoke about was the issue of nibul peh and involved in racism, and the next aspect is also related, which is the problem of midos in general. When you say, right, perhaps most importantly, were such attitudes to take roots in our society, chas v'sholom, they would clearly run counter to the refinement of midos and the pathways of musar to which every ben aliyah and bal avoda should aspire. Haughtiness, gaiva, scoffing, leitronos, derogation, bittul, and other midos rows pervade such attitudes. The tumas fasayim, the impurity of lips, that is inherent in such modes of expression, doubtless impacts negatively on the neshama of the speaker. So, there are certain things which make a person a coarse person. If a person is a coarse person, then obviously that goes against our mission in this world, which is to be refined and to be bali musar, to be people who are constantly seeking to better ourselves in terms of our midos, not seeking what we are allowed to do. This is an important point. The Ramban, famous Ramban, beginning of Parashas Kedoshim, says you could be a novel b'shus Torah. A person can be a coarse-based person and say, whatever I'm doing is glad kosher. And in theory, the Torah never says, don't be a racist. It doesn't say it. So a person can say, well, halachically, there's no problem with it. But the Ramban there says that, no, when it says Kedoshim, you're supposed to be holy, that means you're not supposed to be a novel b'shus Torah. You're not supposed to say that as long as my behavior is halachically correct, it doesn't matter if it manifests itself in coarse, base, and vulgar ways. No, you have to work upon yourself that you should be refined, elevated, and be a person who is exemplary and somebody who people admire because of their exemplary nature. So a person who's involved in all sorts of attitudes which are racist and prejudiced and bigoted cannot be a role model and is not engaging in midos tovos. Yes?
Being refined, like, I'm just looking at a definition here. You would say it's like living up to the midos.
Right. Being striving for using one's midos to the best.
Isn't that, like, if you're not having those midos, then you're not living a halachic life. So how do you?
No, you are. You can say, there are schools of thought which distinguish between halacha and musar, which say that musar is a separate subject or a separate area of life which you may not need to develop.
The Rambam doesn't believe this way, right?
Most people don't believe this way in theory, but in practice it happens many, many times. So there's a distinction between what is held and what is actually practiced, and that's the unfortunate thing. Okay, so in this brief piece, I have focused on the pitfalls of bigotry and racism. It is not a vehicle for comprehensive treatment of our relationship with non-Jews of various orientations. Nevertheless, it's perhaps worthwhile to provide, at the very least, a springboard for further consideration. To the best of my knowledge, the finest comprehensive treatment of the topic is in an essay in Divrei Talmud, Volume 1, by Rabbi Avraham Elio Kaplan Zatzal. Without going here into the broad scope of issues he addresses, it is worth citing some of his conclusions. Okay, I have the rest of the articles here, but let's go through what I have in the letter. Number 1, non-Jews who keep their seven laws as a result of their personal convictions and not because of their belief in the divinity of Torah do not fall into the category of Re'ah. V'afta re'acha kamocha. We are not obligated to provide them with monetary support. Nevertheless, because Hashem has endowed all men with divine qualities, they are therefore chaviv. It says, chaviv adam shenivra b'tzelem. A person is precious. Human beings are precious because they're created in the form of their creator. Hence, we are required to save them from any danger and not stand idly by when they are in peril. This is a very big chiddush of Rabbi Avraham Elia, that the non-Jews who keep they're keeping Sheva mitzvahs, but they're doing it because they are convinced that this is the right thing to do. the golden rule. So then, even still, although they're not called Rea, they're called Chaviv, and a person has to try and save them from any danger. Yeah.
So we're saying that going to accept the Torah mitzvahs because they're fearing Hashem. So
there's a higher level.
Right.
We haven't
so
gotten to that level yet.
we have every obligation to them, like lending to your fellow.
Patience.
Okay.
Number 2, Jews who accept themselves, now we're skipping a level. Non-Jews accept themselves in a Beis Din as a result of their belief in the divinity of Torah to keep their 7 laws do fall into the category of Rea. That's called a Ger Toshav, somebody who commits the 7 laws in the presence of a Beis Din as a result of belief in Torah. It is obligatory for us to provide them with monetary support to conduct ourselves with a high measure of respect towards them. Now, we don't have any Ger Toshav in our day and age. We don't have the Beis Din to accept them, and it seems like Ger Toshav is connected to the Yovel. When there is a Yovel, every 50th year, then a Ger Toshav could be accepted. When there is no Yovel, a Ger Toshav cannot be accepted. So here comes number 3. It is unclear whether the status of non-Jews who accept their 7 laws upon themselves as a result of their belief in the divinity of Torah, but not in a Beis Din, fall into the first or second category. Therefore, as in all matters of doubt that touch on the Oraisa issues, we must be stringent, and it is incumbent upon us to provide them with monetary support, etc. So there's a suffix. It's not clear. Somebody who keeps Shem Mitzvah B'nai Noach because Hashem commanded him, but he can't go to a Beis Din because we have no Beis Din. So what's his status? So the way Rabbi Avraham Elia looks at it, you have to treat him as if he is a Rea, even though we don't have the mechanism to officially make him a Rea. But it's interesting that I gave a shiur on this, or rather I recorded a shiur on this a few weeks ago on the Sefer Abris. The Sefer Abris has the Shita, very interesting Sefer Abris, that it does go on non-Jews. It's not just on Jews, and it's also non-Jews, and means Rea can include also people who are not Jewish. So according to the Sefer Abris, it certainly applies, even to people who are keeping Shem Mitzvah Noach without accepting him in Beis Din, because he believes his Shita is not uniquely about Jews. Okay, now the Rabbi Kaplan also addresses the status of non-Jews who do not accept their 7 laws, and where the concept of Tinok Shenishba is relevant to non-Jews. This is a fascinating question, which is, we say by Jews who don't know better because they've been raised inappropriately that they have a status of Tinok Shenishba. Tinok Shenishba means literally a child who was taken captive by non-Jews and raised among them and doesn't know anything about Judaism, and therefore he is by and large exempt from any penalty for the averos that he commits. Okay, in this world and probably in the world, for all intents and purposes that we are aware of in the world to come as well. So the question is what happens to a non-Jew who's a Tinok Shenishba? Let's say you are born in what's a good place nowadays? You're born in Cambodia, right? I don't know if there's a Chabad house here in Cambodia. There probably is. But assuming that there wasn't a Chabad house in Cambodia. So you're in Cambodia, then you never heard of a Jew. You never saw a Jew. You don't know about even Christianity to a large extent, let alone Judaism. So the question is whether the Tinok Shenishba can apply to such a non-Jew, and therefore, even though he doesn't keep Shem Mitzvah B'nai Noach, he's no Avodah Zarah, right? He worships Avodah Zarah. Nevertheless, perhaps we have to treat him also with that respect and that chavivus, which the Mishnah in Avos talks about. So I'm going to go now to a little bit more. That was as much as I quoted in the article from Rav Avraham Elia. Now I'm going to go a little bit into a little bit more into detail. Place. Yeah. Okay. So he has at the end of tshuva he has the following summary. And some of it we've already mentioned, but let's go through it anyway. Sof Davar, final analysis. Nachri Shem Mitzvah, but Nachri keeps Shem Mitzvahs. They should keep in love Beino Lebein Atzmo, because he accepted upon himself, between himself and himself. V'lo mishum mechrei dato, because that's the way his mind has concluded. V'lo mishum emunas b'Torah, not because of belief in Torah. Eino rei einu. He's not a rea. Ve'ein anu mitzulim la'achiosim mizonos. We don't have to support him. We don't have to give him food. Avo aleinu la'tzilim mikol tzara. We have to save him from any travail. We shouldn't stand by while he is in danger. Mishum avas adam shenivra b'tzelem Elokim. Because one is supposed to love man who created in Tzelem Elokim. Now this kind of universalist perspective is very rare nowadays in Orthodox Jewish circles, right? Those people, Rabbanim, Rosh Yeshiva, they don't come along and talk about Avas Adam Shenivra B'Tzelem Elokim. So love God, love people because they are created in divine image. But this is in fact what you would expect from somebody who is a true Baal Musar, somebody who is involved in perfecting himself, refining himself, elevating himself to higher levels of functioning, to love every human being. Yeah, it's a very difficult thing to demand because most human beings are not lovable. And so they say that, I think I don't know if it was Rav Kook or somebody else said, it's very easy to love Jews in principle, but it's not so easy in practice. Because once you get to know them, it's much harder. If you don't know somebody, you can love them from a distance very well, but once you get to know them, it's not so easy. But that's the obligation, still, it's whether it's easy or not. Number 2, Nachri Shekibah Atzmo Ifnei Beis Din Shel Yisrael. Nachri going accept upon himself in front of a Beis Din Lishmor Shem Mitzvahs, keep Shem Mitzvahs, Mitoch Emunasa B'Torah, because he believes in Torah. Harei Hu Re'enu, he is a Re'ah. Umutar B'Yeshivas Eretz Yisrael, and he's allowed to live in Israel. Mitzvah Leinu Achioso, and it's incumbent upon us to support him. Then to be courteous to him. And to put in effect a system of justice for him, either of their own, or a Jewish system of justice, which will judge him a Jewish system of judges, which will judge him according to his justice. Now, it's important. He doesn't have to go according to our justice. The Rambam has specific laws which apply to Bnei Noach, and they're pretty stringent. Like you kill somebody for any one of the mitzvahs, Shiva mitzvahs Bnei Noach, right? You have the right, but I don't think the Rambam meant that you must kill, non-Jewish must kill somebody who's a thief or a pickpocket, or that non-Jews must kill somebody who does one of the other, who doesn't is not meticulous in preserving a system of courts and justice, which is one of the other Shem Mitzvahs Bnei Noach, or one who eats Aver Min HaChai, who takes a limb off a living animal and eats it. I don't think that they are required to impose the death penalty. They can impose the death penalty. Yeah.
Why would you say that?
What? Why would I say what?
It doesn't seem that going would be required to impose the death penalty for violations of the premises. Like before it says
what?
That's the punishment. Their courts have to establish that they.
I don't think that their courts have to give maximum punishment if they don't want to.
Why not?
Because it's the main purpose of the courts is to maintain law and order. And if law and order can be kept with something short of execution, I don't see the execution is necessary. They have the right to execute, but I don't think that they have to.
The thing is, there's also there's other things that.
By the way, once you bring that up, just a total tangent.
Yeah.
I once thought, and I still do think, that it's possible to construct an argument by which abortion should not be considered to be murder, even for non-Jews in places like the United States. Why? We know abortion is for a Jew to perform an abortion is a crime, but not a capital crime. for non-Jew to perform an abortion is a capital crime. So the question is, are all doctors in America subject to capital punishment? And you could say, or doctors perform abortions, and you could say yes. But it's possible to say that since a country is allowed to execute people, as long as there's as long as there's a specific standard involved. So basically, the American government has declared that fetuses can be maybe executed, right? So therefore, since that's the case, that's the law. So therefore, as long as the position is complying with the law, they're not considered to be murderers. Okay, that's not necessarily the case, but it could be. Yeah.
That's a very strange thing to accept. But the previous thing I was saying is like, I think there's other things that Goyim have to do that are not in the Sheva Mitzvahs. Sheva Mitzvahs.
Well, they're not allowed to kilayim. There are a bunch of things not allowed.
Right. So I'm saying, but I think the commentary in the Mishnah edition of the Torah explained it. It was like the Sheva Mitzvahs are the things that Goyim are chayav misa for. The other things like they shouldn't do, but there's no punishment for them doing it. So.
Well, bear in mind.
It's only Torah.
Bear in mind. Let's look at this from another direction. A guy, according to the Rambam, is killed based on his own confession.
Yeah.
Right? So therefore, if a guy commits theft, should he kill himself?
Well, no, that's like I think
why?
He said he has to have a based in of one judge at least.
Why?
And one witness.
Why?
I don't know why. That's what he.
So I'm saying, as not one witness. No, he's killed based on his own confession. That's what the Rambam says. The ger hamo.
Somebody has to.
No. Yes, the ger. That's why he says the ger hamaleki who killed Shaul, or said who claimed should kill Shaul, was killed based on his own admission. So
but he didn't kill. He killed himself, or somebody else killed him. So that would require a judge, a separate person.
Well, it seems that the Dovid Melch is one who was the judge, but
right. So it's a separate person.
Right, but that's the question. In other words, if it's a process of judgment, then it's possible that because the Bnei Noach are allowed to set up their own legal system, that they can set up their judgment accordingly. They've never asked us, so it's never been practical to figure it out. So, if they ever ask us, we can find out. We'll have to figure it out. But I'm saying there's a possibility. It's a possible,
The second thing you said is very interesting. I mean, it's kind of, I think you can see around where it can become a slippery slope, sort of.
Oh, yes. It certainly can become slippery slope.
Right.
Euthanasia, lots of stuff, yeah.
Right. So it doesn't, for example, I think under Rambam mentions for Shabbos, it's not that Goyim can't keep just Shabbos, like our seventh day. It's like they can't refrain from work as a holiday, on any day. So it's like they can't even set up their own holiday, it seems like.
Yeah.
So it seems like they can't really make up their own holidays, they can't make up their own new things. They have to follow the Torah law and I guess maybe some civil laws that they include, but not
right.
It doesn't seem like they can change the definitions from what the Torah gives of killing and living and whatever.
The Rambam says that non-Jews are not allowed to form their own religions.
Right.
Yeah. We spoke about that last week?
No.
Oh, but the conclusion of that is...
What?
I shouldn't say the conclusion. The corollary of that is that Jews can't form their own religions. The only non-Jews are not allowed to form their own religions.
How's that a corollary?
What?
I mean, we can form our own holidays, but through the
No. If you wanted to form a new religion, right, called Danielism, and as long as you didn't keep as long as you kept the Yud Gimel Karim were intact, right?
So it wouldn't be a new religion.
Why? You could add a chiyuv every day to jump up and down 10 times.
But it's baltos.
Why is it baltosim? As
long
as
you can't add to the Torah.
Only if you say the Torah demanded it. If you say that you demand it, then you can start your own religion.
Then I'm claiming that I'm a prophet.
What's that? This is a joke, okay? But no. But I'll take the joke further. What otherwise would be the heter for Chasidus?
I mean, is there?
Is there heter for Chasidus? To wear a strime, the chiyuv to wear a strime, to have these are.
That's more like a community custom. They're not claiming a divine origins for that stuff.
But I'm saying if a non-Jew wouldn't be allowed to introduce that according to the Rambam. A non-Jew would not allowed to introduce. Because if as a religious observance, he wouldn't be allowed to introduce a new religious observance.
But that's a communal custom.
I don't think it's communal custom. It's
the
considered to
same
be.
as like, I don't know, like African tribes when they wear like.
Fine. If you don't like that, fine. If you don't like that example, let's take not saying tachnun on a yard site.
Okay.
Yeah, right? Would the non-Jew be allowed to not say tachnun on a yard site?
I mean, they already don't.
Yeah. Touche. You get my idea. All right. Anyway, that's off on a tangent anyway. It's sheer speculation. Okay, so the somebody who's number 3. Yishkibel Atzmo, Shev Mitzvahs. Shelo Bivnei Beisin. Somebody accept on himself the mitzvahs not for a Beisin Shel Yisrael. But Safi Yomi is a suffix. The Fichach, therefore, mitzvah lachioso misafik. It's a mitzvah to sustain him because of this suffix. Aval ein ir miklat kolta. So the halacha is that a ger toshav, he has certain rights and privileges, such as fleeing to an ir miklat under certain circumstances. El yishmo atzmo migol adam b'machbo acher. But he has to preserve himself in another hiding place. Shein lanu rishus lo shivo be'eretz Yisrael pen yachdi. We're not allowed to let such a person dwell in Eretz Yisrael because he might cause us to sin. So this is Rav Avram Eliezer is machmir on this one. He says that somebody who is not mekabel mitzvahs in front of the Shem mitzvahs in front of Beis Yisrael, you're not allowed to let him live in the land of Israel. There are other poskim, as Rabbi Yehuda Gershuni is famous for reading this. It's not one of the great poskim, but he wrote an interesting article. He says that since at least Muslims keep Sheva mitzvahs in a formal way, in other words, they have a formal set of observances, so therefore they can be considered to be gerei toshav for this purpose and can be allowed to live in the land of Israel. Christians are problematic because Christians have this issue of the Trinity. We believe that Christians are allowed to worship the Trinity, at least Ashkenazim believe that, but only outside the land of Israel, not in the land of Israel. Right? We can't have them in the land of Israel worshiping the Trinity. So that's a problem, allowing Christians to take up residence unless they give up the notion of the Trinity. If they're Unitarians, they're okay.
So, what's the problem with that? Like, if we accept that's not called Avodah Zarah, what's the problem with them doing it in Israel?
No, because Eretz Yisrael, the whole idea of a ger toshav is that a non-Jew is allowed to live in Eretz Yisrael, is that he rejects the multiple gods. If you look in a whole parsha about Naaman and Elisha, when Naaman becomes a ger toshav, what he says is, okay, I'm not going to worship any other gods anymore.
Right.
Because being a ger toshav and therefore being somebody who wants to live in the land of Israel means that you don't worship other gods.
But we're saying that, according to Ashkenazim, that they can worship other gods as long as they worship as long as they worship the
right. And there's probably there's alluded to in called dar chutz laaretz kilo avir avodah zarah, right? Because there's this notion of there are other powers in chutz laaretz. That's what gives them that's what gives the flip side has that leniency. Okay, in the time when the Yovel wasn't in effect, you could be makabel, you could accept the goyim in front of a basin of 3, and they become a ger toshav in Eretz Yisrael, and they're allocated a place to live outside the walled cities, and it's a mitzvah to sustain them. And they can be makabel more than Shem mitzvahs until at the end, hopefully they beget Mila and Tvila. Right, they become full ger. That's important. A goy sheshav as chayv misa. A goy keeping Shabbos chayv misa only if it's a ger toshav. Now, if it's not a ger toshav, a ger toshav, somebody who has accepted formally Shem mitzvahs b'nei in front of a beis din is allowed to keep Shabbos.
Are they called Nochri still?
Yeah, they're still called Nochri, but they're allowed to keep Shabbos because they
only in Eretz Yisrael, right?
Well, there's no ger toshav. It has been ger toshav for thousands of years already. The whole concept doesn't apply in our day and age.
Why?
Why? Because it seems to be contingent on having Yovel. If you have Yovel, the 50th year of Jubilee year, so then you can, which has to do, then you have ger toshav. Because ger toshav, in theory, he becomes like a permanent resident in the land of Israel. But the whole idea of residency in the land of Israel can link to having Eretz Yisrael divided up into tribes, and being able to have the Yovel regulate the system every 50 years, and the absence of the division into tribes, and the Yovel as a result, that whole idea of residency, non-residency, goes out the window. What does remain is that, in theory, in a Jewish society, you should not allow people in who might lead you astray. Okay. Now today, I don't think anybody takes that perspective because we have a couple of reasons. One of them is the two mitigating factors in halacha which go very, very far. One is mipnei Eva and the other is mipnei darkei shalom. We do certain things that the non-Jews should not hate us, and we do other things that the non-Jews and we should, together with us, should live in peace and harmony. They're not quite the same thing, but they're both based on the assumption that even though there's an ideal situation that the Torah prescribes, the ideal situation very rarely, if ever, has existed in Jewish history. So therefore, we are required to try and do things to diminish the friction between ourselves and non-Jews, which would include, in our day and age, allowing people who are Christians or even other religions to live in Israel. Yeah.
So, where do we get this idea that Gerrit Toshav can keep Shabbos?
Oh, Gemara Yevamos. Yevamos Menches, I think it is. So it's supposed to be a Gerrit Toshav. You know why? Because Gerrit, a non-Jew, at least according to Ashkenazim, because a non-Jew who's still allowed to worship Avodah Zarah B'Shita, to worship multiple gods, he doesn't have the unique covenant with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is necessary to keep Shabbos.
Gerrit Toshav does.
Yeah.
But it's it's strange because it's called this is like an inheritance of Yaakov. It's like a special thing.
Right.
So they're like.
Gerrit Toshav is like a Jew in training. You give him.
But is it meant for them to megayer at some point or what?
It's supposed to be a step towards giur. They don't have to be megayer.
Right.
But it's meant. The idea is some in between phase.
It's not meant to be permanent.
Sorry?
I'm asking, is it meant to be permanent? Ideally speaking.
It can be. There is he brings down here the halacha is that if a non-Jew was makabel upon himself, he accepted upon himself that he's going to get a bris milah, so he waited 12 months, and if he doesn't get a bris milah during those 12 months, then he loses his status as a Gerrit Toshav and reverts to being a full non-Jew. But that's only if he accepted upon himself to do that. Okay?
Somewhat tangential question. I remember learning that there are a few different opinions in the Gemara about the definition of a Gerrit Toshav, and one of them is that he accepts upon himself all mitzvos except eating nevelas.
Yeah, that's one opinion.
How do we understand that?
We don't pass like that.
I understand, but I mean,
the assumption is that cheeseburgers taste good.
Okay.
It's like he's keeping all the mitzvahs out of just extra stuff that he's not obligated for.
No, according to that opinion, the only thing which he's off the hook for is kashrus. He has to keep everything else.
Just seems like so much.
Why not just keep kosher after all is said and done, right?
There's so many other more complicated.
Yes, I'd say we don't pass me like this shita. By the way, Reb Avraham Elia, I see here, does not hold of what I said about the non-Jews being allowed to impose penalties short of death, but he has another way out of it.
Sorry,
He doesn't agree with my perspective, but he says, listen to what he says. He says, "But Ben Noach as harasan he is oimidasan." Their warning is their death penalty, meaning that for the Shem mitzvahs they can be put to death. But he says he has a different chap. He says, "Aval harei adeles pesucha lifneim lekabel din Gerrit Toshav." they can always go, if they're about to be killed as Bnei Noach, they can quickly run and become Gerei Toshav. And then they don't have the status of Ben Noach. Vein osim lem din, vein p'turim. They get off the hook because the Ger Toshav, his previous status is erased, and of course the same thing. Only he's Gayer, he could be Megayer, vein p'turim legamrei. When he becomes a full Ger, he gets to have the death penalty too.
So the Ger Toshav is still he has the same laws as he still can be put to death with one witness and stuff, right? Or he has to have 3 witnesses?
No, he has to have two witnesses. Yeah, he has to have 2 witnesses. Okay, so there's the.
And where does he get that from?
Well, this is I don't I'm only have here my summary, but I believe it's in the Rambam there, same place. Oh no, here he does say like me. He says about the halacha of a Ben Noach, which has to Ben Noach that he's chayav misa if he kills b'shogeg, kills unintentionally. He writes v'dino chamur. He has the more severe halacha that he has to be put to death. Shariachol he's got to be put there because he has an alternative. He has an escape hatch. He become a ger and get away from the death penalty. V'gam ein chov laduno so elik she's sorech badavar. I have that in block print here. There also is no requirement to judge him unless absolutely necessary.
What does that mean?
In other words, you don't have to put him to death. I think it's what I said before.
It's very like what he means judge him unless absolutely necessary. If he did a sin, then it's absolutely necessary to judge him.
No, it's only necessary if it's actually required in order to keep justice, right?
That is if somebody goes unpunished. That's
not if it's but it doesn't. Again, he killed some b'shogeg. So the non-Jewish courts can make a lesser penalty than a capital penalty for that. Okay, you don't have to agree with me. That's not the topic of the shiur. He has a lot to say about gezel akum, about stealing from non-Jews, which of course he holds as usher, and giving back a mitzvah to a non-Jew, right? He's giving back a mitzvah to a person who's an idolater is a problem, but obviously the person's not idolater. You're supposed to return it to them.
Is Christianity idolatry?
Not chutz la'aretz. It's Yisrael might be, but not chutz la'aretz. No. Because we hold that non-Jews are allowed to worship more than one God in chutz la'aretz.
No, let's say they don't worship.
What?
One God.
No, they have our God plus another two.
I don't know if they believe in our God.
Yeah, they do.
Believe in the guy with the diaper hanging on the cross.
No, they believe
Yeah.
They believe in two. They believe.
Yeah.
And also
And more.
Yeah.
Something.
They have.
They're